Hello friends! Today is the first day since I've started my channel when my birthday falls on my upload day. So I decided to do something different and share with you 26 things I've learned in my 26th year of life, because I'm turning 27 on the day you're watching this. Fun fact, Thursday is like my favorite day. That's why I picked it as an upload day. Both of my kids were born on Thursday, and actually both of those days videos went up anyways. And yes, even today on my birthday we're doing a video. Past year turned out to be quite transformational. I've changed a lot of things in my life, from my habits to language that I speak, and I've learned a ton of stuff. So hopefully this can be interesting and helpful for you too. So let me know in the comments what is it that surprised you, or something that you've learned today, maybe something you'll implement in your life. They're very random things and there is no particular order to them. So let's see. I realized how much alcohol takes away from me. I have a whole video on my channel about why I quit alcohol. And in there I also mentioned that how viewing what alcohol takes away from you instead of what quitting alcohol gives you. My life became healthier, better, but also easier without alcohol. But I go more in depth about that obviously in the other videos. So let's move on to something I haven't shared yet. And I've realized and learned in the past year that I have an eating disorder. So I always knew that I have a problem in a relationship with food. I might not look like someone who does, but unfortunately it's what it is. I finally acknowledged it and starting to work on it. There have been some very good changes, and I've learned and realized that not eating before bed is, oh my god, so helpful and makes such a big difference in the morning and for your whole next day, for your health. And of course we all know that, but I've been much more in tune with my body after quitting alcohol. I would say that I was able to notice and value how I feel when I don't eat late at night. I was also able to do that because I'm not breastfeeding anymore. I mean, it's been almost a year now, but that habit of eating late, because you know, always hungry when you're breastfeeding, especially if you're still feeding at night, I was starving at night if I wouldn't eat late. So I had to cut that habit, and I don't do it every single day. Sometimes I do eat later than I'd like to, but I've noticed how lighter and happier I feel in the morning. So it definitely motivates me to stop eating at like 6 or 7, because I started to go to bed earlier, because I've learned to prioritize my sleep. I've learned that yes, there are things you don't really have control of, like kids waking up, kids being sick, or having bad dreams. When they need me at night, I'm there for them, but I can definitely go to sleep earlier. Take advantage of those few hours before they start waking up potentially, because I think we all have this problem as parents. Do we go to sleep early and prioritize that sleep, or do we have some adult time, alone time, couple time when the kids go to bed? Because my kids go to bed quite late, especially my older one. There is not much we can do about that. She never really needed much sleep the whole time she's alive, and of course we crave that alone time, couple time, Netflix time, whatever it is you need to do. Some of us have to work later at night, but after being sleep deprived for a few years, after feeling that on my health, when my kids started school, I started getting sick with them a lot. And I've realized that whatever I do, even quitting alcohol, taking supplements, whatever, sleep is so essential that nothing else matters if you don't sleep. So again, not every single night, but I do try to go to bed by like 11, better even earlier than that, because usually it was like 12, past 12, and that hour can make a difference in the long run. Now, a couple of more things I've learned talking about health and feeling better. That morning stretch and a tiny bit of exercise goes a long way. I'm talking about literally 3 to 5 minutes of stretching and a couple of squats or any other exercise that gets your body going makes a whole lot of difference with how you feel in the morning. And talking about mornings, coffee. Did you know that you need to wait at least 1 hour before having any kind of caffeine after you wake up to don't collapse in the middle of the day, to don't have that need to keep drinking and keep drinking more coffee, because it has something to do with levels of hormones, of cortisol. After you wake up, you have like a high level of cortisol that has to naturally go down before you have any caffeine. Ideally, we also shouldn't be drinking coffee when we didn't have a good night's sleep, because then you're, you know, pulling all of your emergency resources and then you're totally drained. So I certainly saw a big difference when I wait at least 1 hour. I think for me it's even 1 hour and like 20-25 minutes is the best, especially if I had a decent night's sleep. Makes a whole big difference. I don't collapse, I don't need to keep drinking coffee, I don't feel down in the middle of the day. So I did not know that, and I've learned that in my 26 year of life. Did you know that? Let me know in the comments. A few more things on the health note. I've learned that walking, and sometimes walking by myself or even with kids, is so beautiful. Getting out in the sunshine, breathing fresh air is essential for your good sleep, for your good mood, and just for unwinding. Usually I don't think about my problems or anything else. I notice the nature around me. I listen to the birds singing, even if when I'm with kids I'm distracted because I need to, you know, look after them a lot. Lately, I mean in the last like few months, half a year, we've been walking so much. We've been outside with kids so much now that my younger one is older and we can all walk longer distances. Sometimes when I can go for a walk myself, even for a tiny walk. It's so enjoyable, and yes, it's just walking. It might seem boring, but for me it's not. And I've learned that also in the 26th year of life. Same with exercise. I've been getting there for quite a few years now, for many years now. But in this past year, in the 26th year of life, I've certainly noticed that exercise gives me so much happiness, so much peace, fulfillment, everything. Makes me feel better about my body, even though it didn't really change in 10 minutes of exercise. And yes, I'm talking about even 5-10 minutes of exercise. It makes a world of difference for your health, for your body, but also for your headspace. So now I am craving it more, and I'm not like lazy for it anymore, and I prioritize it again. It's like a theme of this year for me. I've been prioritizing my health and prioritizing things that make me feel better and make me better person, better mom. Same was, you know, with video about quitting alcohol. It all comes down to feeling better, to be able to function better for myself and for my family. Therefore, coming back to the alcohol situation, I have also learned that mommy wine culture is super toxic, and it might not be like that for you, but it is for many parents. I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, I have a separate video about that, talking about parenting and influence. I've realized that many sarcastic and funny accounts about parenting I follow are toxic, at least to me again, but I'm pretty sure to many people too, because they make you feel like your kids are burden more often than there are blessings. And yes, it's good to have a good laugh about motherhood sometimes, but constantly having these accounts and these reels and these posts and these stories on your feed gets you in the same cycle and in the same mood of just complaining about your kids and complaining about how hard it is, and truly viewing them, even though it's a joke, right? They're being sarcastic and making jokes about it, but then it gets into your subconscious so deep that you are in that mode the whole time. Maybe they, you know, posted that reel and go and live their life viewing their kids as blessings, but because you're being fed by the algorithm those same reels and posts all the time, you seriously get in that mode of viewing them as burdens, and it does not make your motherhood easier. If anything, it's really not the right way to go. So think about this one seriously. I've unfollowed many accounts that made me feel like that. They were sarcastic and funny, but then also like too negative about kids, in my opinion, and for my liking. And certainly you don't need a million of those accounts. This way these jokes won't get into your feed so often. So something I've touched on already is how much a constant sleep deprivation impacts your health. And I just seen this in the past year, that, like I said, no matter what I've done, sleep was the key. Sleeping better, which is just, my second child started sleeping better on, you know, usual daily basis, and unless he was teasing or sick. So I was able to sleep better because of that, because my kids are older. But also prioritizing sleep and going to sleep earlier is a big deal too. Again, not eating late and all of those things you can do to sleep better. And the past year definitely showed me how sleep affects your health. Next, I've learned on my own skin literally how stress affects your health and affects your skin. And not just stress, but also putting yourself behind, let's say. I had some skin rashes from nowhere. I went to a couple of doctors, I've consulted some people, and no one could say like what is it exactly causing my rashes. And then when I digged a little bit into myself and what is it that I want and what is it that I'm missing, like time for myself, like do I have a lot on my plate, what can help me to feel better, and all of these things, they've been all becoming like a piece of big puzzle. And so when I realized, so this is another thing I've learned, that I actually need time alone. I have never been that person who needed time alone. But after I started prioritizing time for myself and working it into our schedule ahead of time, actually, that rush started to go down very quickly. Those two things, how stress and unmet needs can come out as your health problems, and skin rashes particularly, this is very common correlation in between two of these, and how alone time is also needed for me. Also, I had a chance to think, what is it that I want? What are my dreams? Which things I want just for myself? I just had a person, actually two people, ask me this question, and I was like, I don't really think about this, and I don't really envision these things enough, especially those things that are for just me and not us as a whole family. So that was great. So if you haven't asked yourself, what is it that you want? What are your dreams? Maybe those are some beauty procedures, maybe those are some financial goals. Think about it, envision it. I have also came to a realization finally that I don't really want to do my nails in a salon. Oftentimes I wouldn't prioritize it, I wouldn't have time for it, I would like to save on it. But I went to a salon like a month ago, and even though I did like my experience, I truly understood that is certainly not something I want. I'd rather do my nails on my own when I have time for that. And if before I was secretly missing it, but this year I truly realized that this is not something that is one of my values and is not something I am really missing. Besides this, I've learned a few more things I don't want for myself, because knowing what you want is one thing, but sometimes it's very motivational to imagine yourself in the situation that you might end up in unless you move a little and start progressing and working toward your goals. I had a very clear feeling and vision of the situation where I don't want to end up in. So I think that's also a thing to know, to understand that what is it that you don't want to do, or where is it that you don't want to work, or which, you know, situation you don't want to have in your life, and what do you need to do to avoid it. Okay, so I think I've mentioned a lot of things, but I have my list here, so I'm gonna go through it and see what I've missed. Quite a few random things are left. Let's take even this one. You know, I've switched to speaking Ukrainian full-time in my daily life with my kids and with my family, because little backstory. I'm from Ukraine, and I'm from a part of Ukraine where lots of people speak Russian, but since Russian invasion into Ukraine, not right away, but with time, I realized that I am not a Russian-speaking Ukrainian. I am a Russified Ukrainian, because this is what Russian empires and Soviet Union, now so-called Russian Federation, was trying to do to Ukraine and other countries, Russify them. So this is not because I'm part of them, this is because me and my family and my whole city, actually, most of it, right, was under this propaganda and under this big plan. I knew Ukrainian, I spoke it, it was part of my family, I spoke it when I studied in the university in Kiev, and I personally, not every Russified Ukrainian feels that way, but I felt like it's actually my first language, and this is something I want to give to my kids as well. And I just felt like I cannot speak the language of aggressor anymore. Russian army and Russian soldiers speak that language while killing not just soldiers of my country, but civilians as well, and doing a lot of horror things, like worse than you've ever seen in a horror movie. So in the last year, actually in August, so it's almost a year now, since I fully switched to Ukrainian, and I speak Ukrainian to everybody who understands it. Part of my family did not switch to Ukrainian, at least just yet, but I do speak Ukrainian to them. So that's like a big switch in my life, and a lot of Ukrainians going through this now as well. And I'm very proud of this, and I am glad that my kids will know Ukrainian language, because this is existential, because Ukrainians are under genocide right now. And so switching to speaking Ukrainian in my daily life and teaching it to my kids, it's that little part of effort I can put in to saving my nation, helping my nation, and continuing the Ukrainian tradition and saving Ukrainian language, because right now everything Ukrainian, including the language, is literally our weapon against the aggressor. On a little happier note, another thing I've learned and seen work magic is having a community around. And in my case, what happened is that we have a Ukrainian family that's moved in, like right next door into our apartment building, and we became friends, and it's been amazing, it's been priceless, it's so special. And of course, just the fact that they are from my country, it wouldn't mean that we would become friends 100%, of course not. It's so much more unifying and makes friendship so much closer. And somehow during quite a few years me living here, I haven't really built around us like a good community of close friends. But it's very different when someone lives right next door, and so that you can hang out almost every evening is priceless. Next, coming back to alcohol topic, I've learned this year that you can have truly amazing emotional celebrations, holidays, birthdays without alcohol, and you can also have amazing sex without alcohol. This year also proved my point of never trying any kind of substances except of alcohol. Somehow that drug sneaked into my life, but there was nothing else. And this year I've tried something that proved me that absolutely nothing that changes your mind and you're like psycho is good. Like nothing, not even this legal stuff that I was able to buy in the stores that even teenagers are allowed to. I've learned how much cleanliness of my house, and particularly kitchen, influences my whole life, my mood, my headspace, everything. So we fixed our dishwasher last year, and it's been life-changing. But not just the fact that we have it, right? You still need to load it and unload it and do all that stuff. But since it became easier on me because I have the help of dishwasher, I've made a point not so long ago, not right after we fixed it, but for quite some time I made a point to do dishes every single night, and that makes a whole lot of difference. And just the fact that I load dishwasher right away, meaning put dirty dishes in there right away after every meal, makes the surfaces of the kitchen much cleaner and much less cluttered. It makes huge difference in my desires to cook and to clean. And then after everything is in the dishwasher, in the end of the day, I pretty much just need to put a couple of extra plates and start it, and then I have only a little pile of things that needs to be hand washed, and that's all. I've learned how being disciplined with your dishes can change your life, because I had multiple breakdowns over dirty dishes before. Then I have also learned that you can't help someone to change unless they are ready to change, unless they've came to this realization that they need to change, and you can show up for them, and you can be their example, and you can want them to change as much as you want, but it's all up to them. This is not your fault. Then I've realized this year how much we shame our kids. And yes, this is part of my reparenting journey and just exploring gentle parenting. Every time a kid does something, we have this tendency to just tell them like, how could you? Why do you do this? You're so big, you're grown. You knew you cannot do this. I've been cleaning this and you ruined it. Things like that. Well, I know a lot of people say that, and I do, and that's how I was raised, because you know, these phrases, they just go from generation to generation. And so now I'm working on that, and I really did not realize how much we shame our kids in just our day-to-day life. And who would like to be treated like that? And that's why when us as adults who were shamed as kids, let's say, burn some dish, we're so hard on ourselves. We shame ourselves for things that are not really that important. Then I've also learned that connecting with your child is not just playing with them. So yes, playing is very important, but connection can also look like apologizing when you did something wrong, working a situation out, giving space for emotions, telling them that you can handle all these emotions and you're there for them, listening to what's been happening in daycare, answering all of those million questions. And I know it can be hard, and you don't have to do that 24/7, but connection is formed also through other things that we do throughout the day. They might seem routine things, they might seem, you know, discipline things, but those are also points of connection. Now a couple of super random things that are interesting and that I've learned this year. For example, that plastic is not such a big environmental disaster. There are so many more bigger issues that are not really talked about in like media, and for some reason plastic and other like corals and other things, they brought up so much to the point where, you know, we're just like scared of that plastic. And it's a good thing to recycle it and everything, but what really shifted my view is that actually plastic is the only thing that human really learned how to recycle well, to the point where someday we might be able to even make cars out of plastic. So yes, global warming and environmental problems are much further and much more different than what we hear in, you know, in media about. And another thing is AI. I made a video about AI recently, and I've learned that what we call AI now is actually not that thing that's supposed to, you know, take over the world. It's way too far from that point. It does not have a sense of identity. It does the things that it's programmed to do and trained to do, and supposedly people are working on creating something that would be like a human, but like a robot that would identify like a separate person. But that's definitely far away from now, and they actually had to even find out like a different name for it, because AI is no longer what it was supposed to be. So definitely don't be afraid to use AI, especially in parenthood. Watch this video to find out how. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. Let's talk in the comments, and I will see you in this one.